What's going on, guys? Happy Monday. Meteorologist Jonathan Kagas with you. It's another edition of Tropics Watch. We hang out every Monday at 11 o'clock through hurricane season. Of course, if necessary as well, we've gotten together several times as well throughout the season when there have been warranted live streams on here. So we just hang out, we talk about the weather, we break down the science and meteorology, and if there's anything to be concerned about. And in the short term, it does not look like that from a Florida perspective. There are a few things, though, that I want to touch on. So before we get into this video, first of all, we're coming at you live from clickorlando.com, the Pinpoint Weather app, and the best hurricane app on the planet, the Pinpoint Hurricane app as well. So if you're not familiar with those, download the Pinpoint Hurricane app. It really is the best way to stay updated. As soon as the Hurricane Center names something, you will know about it. You'll get a push alert. It happens instantaneously. It's a great tool for that. Also, as we move forward through this hurricane season, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, hit subscribe. We'd love to have you on board as we continue to monitor the tropics with you guys and all of the above. A few things out there in the tropics, and the good thing is in the short term there's nothing threatening. We do have Nigel out there. It is going to become a major hurricane. I'm just going to show you where that is. Again, there are really no threats to land with that. It's going to curve quickly away from Bermuda, so some good news there. There's a little something sneaky off the Florida coastline. It's really not there yet. I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's going to develop, at least potentially anyway, off of a cold front. It's going to be a non-tropical area of low pressure that could start to take on some tropical characteristics. It'll be that maybe subtropical designation if it does do that. Then there's one further down the line here, one to watch, this African wave that is eventually going to roll off of Africa. I mean, there's a long time to watch this one, so we're going to break all that down as well. While we go forward, if you have any questions, if you're watching on YouTube, post that in the comments for me. That would be awesome. We can have this conversation. That's what I like to do here. I like to have a conversation, I like to talk to you guys. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, you make the weekly show what it is. So again, please post in the comments what you are... Please post in the comments what's going on. All right, so here's the 7-day tropical development, and we have 3 areas highlighted out there. We have this, first of all, you can clearly see right smack dab in the middle of your screen, there is Nigel. This is going to turn, I'll show you the official forecast again, just to get that out of the way. Just want to be transparent with everything that's out there, so I will show you the official forecast. Then we have this guy here, that little yellow blob off the Florida coast, Georgia coast, Carolina coast. It was put there by the National Hurricane Center this morning because of this. Let me back this up. You see this cold front kind of draped across the southeast corner of the United States. That's going to be the trigger mechanism. It is of non-tropical origin. Each storm has an origin story. It's just like superheroes. This one is of non-tropical in nature, so it has to go a transition to become tropical if it wants to do that in its life. We're going to talk all about that as well in just one second. And then we have this thing here. It's not over the Atlantic just yet. It's back here, and it's eventually going to work its way out. You see, this one is coming off low as well. Anytime we get these storms rolling off of Africa low, if they come up here, chances are they curve, and there's still an opportunity for these things to curve if there's a weakness in the Bermuda High, which is hanging out right here. So there's certainly still an opportunity for that, but we never like whenever they come off low. It just gives that added probability of them interacting either with the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, or the United States. We never like whenever they come off low like that, but we are going to break all of that down going forward. Just want to be real quick here with Nigel. Again, don't want to spend too much time on this. This is not going to impact anyone, but you do see here this is likely going to rapidly intensify into our next major hurricane. It became a major hurricane, or it became a hurricane over the weekend. And again, as we move into tonight and into early tomorrow, we could be looking at a Category 3 storm that will bend away from all land, from the Canadian Maritimes, which were just impacted by Lee, of course, and then Bermuda, and then, of course, the United States as well. So some good news with Nigel. This is not going to affect anybody but the fish. I always like to just show you the models just to show you what we're looking at completely. Again, complete transparency here as we show you those computer forecasts up and out, so we can say goodbye to Nigel very, very quickly. Before we get into the long range or that long duration potential of that storm, I do want to show you this kind of thing that could develop off of the southeast corner of the United States over the next couple of days. And I'm trying to show you, I'm trying to bring over some comments for you. So bear with me as I kind of pull that up for you, if I can get the technology to work today. And if I can't, Subtropical.com, how's it going? And Kevin, how's it going for you? Not playing ball with me today. I don't know why. Anyway, moving on. Here is the European model. GFS shows a very similar scenario, and it's actually a little more aggressive in wrapping this thing up. As we get into the end of the week, let me bring out my telestrator again. We have a cold front kind of draped right in through here. Typically, as we get deeper into the season, and it's kind of early for these cold fronts to kind of start coming down and stalling off, that's one of the things that we look at post Cabo Verde season with these storms that roll off of Africa and make that long trip across the Atlantic. We look for more homegrown storms. And this is what I mean by homegrown. The fronts come out of the United States, just like that, and they stall over the warm waters of the Gulf and Southwest Atlantic, just like what we have going on here. So this is going to happen towards the middle and latter stages of this upcoming week. And then you see what happens as we get into Friday, and then especially the weekend. We start to get this little bubble or blob. At this point here, the Euro keeps this super, super weak. So you see this kind of upside down U there, the little kink right there. That is that inverted pressure trough. That's what we are going to be looking for. It is an open wave at this point. So if it can tighten up and if that isobar there can close off, we would likely have some kind of hybrid storm, an ugly-looking, sloppy-looking, part tropical, part non-tropical area of low pressure that kind of lifts up into potentially the northeast. And the one reason that we would watch that closely is because, let me zoom out here. Sorry for all the names that just pop up. That's a big area of high pressure. This would be actually, if you're familiar watching from Appalachia, this is what we call a cold air damming setup. So this would keep anything tightly packed to the United States. This is actually something for in the wintertime that we love for snow lovers. But you see the inverted pressure trough right here, this little dip in those lines. That's a telltale sign of cold air damming. So we will be watching for some impacts here. Again, it shouldn't be anything too strong. Land interaction is very close by, but it certainly could be impactful with some heavy rain if, in fact, it does kind of ride up the East Coast like that. And with that area of high pressure here, that's going to act to keep anything that were to form off the southeast corner of the U.S. very, very close to land. Again, that means it would not have time to really get its act together. That's good news. But then it would also bring us the potential for some heavy rain, maybe some flash flooding. So something that we would keep a close eye on. For my Florida friends and my Florida people that are tuning in, this is not coming here. The blob is highlighted off of Florida, but it is not going to kind of come back into Florida as well. Tommy52 Lee, what's going on in Melbourne? Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining the live stream once again. So we are good in Florida there off that corner. If you see that yellow blob on the Hurricane Center's highlight map, there is absolutely nothing to freak out. Yeah, that cold front is going to increase our rain chances, but it's not going to be from that tropical entity by itself. It's that thing, if it does get its act together, is going to lift north. All right, so now I want to show you here just the plain old European model, and you can kind of see what happens right here. There you go. Here's our system. We're looking for the bright reds to flare up. And when it's a circle, that means that the low-level wind is becoming more well-defined, and we have that spin a couple thousand feet above your head is getting a little bit stronger as well. There it is right there. Again, it's kind of broad. It's discombobulated. It looks ugly. We like when it looks ugly. So when I say it looks ugly, that is a good thing. But you see it kind of spiral there and then work its way up the East Coast. That is certainly a scenario that we would watch. Here is what we're going to focus on next, this maybe long duration thing, this long range entity, if you will. The European wants to get it strong. Whoops. Sorry about that. Let me go back. The European wants to get this strong and then lift this thing up quick. It finds a weakness. And when these things get strong quick, if you've been with me long enough, we've talked about that when these things get strong, they find the weakness in the ridge. If there's any little bit of, again, kind of just a little area that is not well defined of that Bermuda high that's at this point chilling somewhere in here, it goes up and out. And that's exactly what it finds. You see it kind of right there, that little kink. It's going to ride that up. And there it is. It finds the weakness and goes up and out. Now, a weaker system will tend not to feel the steering features quite as easily. And the GFS does keep it on the weaker side. You see it kind of roll off. You saw that little curl there. There is our entity. It's very broad near the Cabo Verde Islands. It's kind of swirling. It's still kind of broad here, we still have, there are the arrows. We have that open wave just like that. So there is our trough. It keeps it tiny, and it keeps it moving west. So that's what we're going to have to watch. Now, this is still September 28th, so this is 10 days from now. We could be looking at something close to the Caribbean. Now, again, there are two split areas. The GFS wants to keep it weak and have it closer to land. I will say, right off the bat, the GFS has had a lot of trouble here developing storms this season in the main development region where this is. So if it's continuing to have that problem with developing the system, it's going to think it's going to be weaker, and then it's going to want to think it's going to have a better shot at connecting and interacting with land. So that's the one thing that I'm going to say about the GFS. You have to look at the ensembles. Again, if you've been with me a lot, we love to break down the ensembles. There's different conditions put into the model, and it gives you a wide range of solutions. So here are the ensembles. This is the European ensemble. 51 different members go into this, and there are different conditions put in because we don't have a lot of data with this thing. This thing is just not even rolling off of Africa yet, but we kind of get a gauge. Okay, if this high pressure is stronger, it'll do this. If this storm is stronger, it'll do this. If it's weaker, it'll do this. So this is where we can kind of get kind of a wide range of outcomes here. And this is what it shows. Same kind of thing. Where you see these purple lines here where they turn pink and purple, that is the stronger wind speed on the scale here. So that is a stronger storm, and it's going to tend to go up and out, kind of following Nigel. These tightly packed things up here, that is Hurricane Nigel. Okay, so that's the lines from there. Notice, though, where you have the blues and the greens and the yellows. Look at where we're at on the scale here. Lower wind speed, weaker storm. Same thing here. So the parent Euro wants to get it strong and take it up and out. GFS wants to keep it weak, but it's worth noting that there are European ensembles that get this thing in the next 10 days close to the Northeast Caribbean. So we watch until we have a clear pathway out, until we see this thing come into fruition and develop. It's really hard to gauge where these things go until you have a well-defined center. If models don't know where it's starting, it's certainly not going to know where it ends up. So that's something that's important to remember there as we move forward with this. The GFS just kind of has a bunch of lines everywhere. Of course, here is Nigel back out here. There's that little entity off the southeast coast. Some of the GFS members do get it strong, so that's where it's always important, again, to look at that. And then even the weaker ensembles here of the GFS do tilt it before there's that one crazy out to lunch one down here that you always respect until it doesn't show it anymore. But certainly the grouping would be to think anyway that this is going to have an opportunity to turn. The one thing I will say is if it got far west, like if it got to the islands, you see where these kind of peachy colors are. That is the pressure, and that's kind of on the right of your screen. I have it cut off here, but if you see where my crosshair is over here, my little mouse cursor, the more peach the color is, the higher the pressure, okay? And we do have some pretty strong high pressure kind of anchored there. So if it got to the islands, it would have a shot to kind of get pushed in rather than go out. But that is a big if, and there is still a lot of time to watch that before we get into anything. Again, we're still 10 days out from this thing potentially even getting close to the islands. So a lot of time to watch that. I'll try to see if I have any more comments in here. Good morning, everybody. All right, so I always like to give you a recap on Monday of where we stand. An ACE, accumulated cyclone energy, is the best way to do that. It's a metric that kind of takes into fruition, takes into account the duration and longevity, which is duration. So the duration and the strength is what I'm trying to say. And that's how we generate the ACE. Of course, Lee is now the highest ACE generating storm of the season. It was out there forever. It's finally gone. Once these storms get to tropical storm status, that is when you start to generate ACE, and that's what we are seeing here. So to date now, thanks to a couple of very powerful, long-lived storms, Lee and Franklin, we're now way back above where we should be for this time of the year to date. So our ACE now is 108. The average is 75.4. So this has been already a very active season. And unfortunately, there aren't many signs of it slowing down either as we roll through the rest of September, of course, as we watch that one entity that's now over Africa that may have a shot to develop. So we'll be watching that extremely close over the next, again, 7 to 10 days and through the entirety of the season here as we start to transition from more of those long duration storms that roll off of Africa to more of the homegrown ones. Of course, the water temperature is still really, really warm, although Lee and Franklin have helped out the Atlantic considerably over the past, month now. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, this has been another edition of Tropics Watch Live. We hang out every Monday at 11 o'clock and as needed through hurricane season. If you found this content helpful, share it with your friends. If you're watching on clickorlando.com, if you are watching on YouTube, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed the conversation that we're having. Hit that subscribe button as well, and you're going to be notified to any time we post new content. Until then, be safe out there. Hey, Cajun guy, good to see you again. Thanks for posting. Good to see you. Appreciate you, and appreciate you tuning back in again to the live stream. Thank you so much. Hope you are doing well out there. Good luck tonight. My Steelers are playing Monday Night Football, the other game this evening. So we're going to have, hopefully, a good night for both of us in the opposite game. So good luck. Alrighty, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. We will catch you soon. Hopefully not too soon. That means that there'll be something threatening. So hopefully I'll see you Monday. But if there is something that continues to look concerning, of course, you can find us right here, and we will pop back on. I do love talking to you guys, though. So we'll catch you next time. Have a great Monday, everybody.